Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm here with Noe from Qantic. Noe, how are you doing tonight?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing fantastic myself, brother. I'm glad to hear that you're doing fine as well. In this interview that we're going to kick things off with here tonight, I want to ask you a couple of questions in order to get to know you as well as your team a little bit better. So we'll kick things off. Can you tell us something about the history of your team so far? Who was the founder of it? Who was part of it from the very beginning? And who joined later on?
So firstly, if I remember correctly, like the team was founded by like almost 3 or 4 players, Ozzy, Newen, Nox, and Master, I guess. But the three main were Nox, Ozzy, and Newen. And later on, like now, we are playing with Tex, with a former player for Qantic. He left and he came back, and later on we joined with like Rika and myself.
Interesting. Well, do you have any idea when the team was first founded initially, or rather, how long have you guys been playing together as a roster?
Oh, the Quantic it was founded like years ago. They have been part of the com scene for like quite a long time. But we joined recently with Rukia, and the roster has changed like since big the before the Masters. So I guess it was like maybe 6 months ago or something like this. So it's very recent.
It is indeed very recent, but still 6 months is plenty of time to get that
Yeah, of
chemistry
course.
going for you guys. So not bad at all. What do you think is your team's biggest strength though going into this event?
I guess our biggest strength now is like the chemistry between all of us. Like because besides being like mates, we are friends, so we know how to like talk to each other, and we know how to listen when there is maybe something we need to improve. So we are not afraid to like to talk. So I guess that's why we are here now, and that's how we improved a lot during the 6 months.
That is great to hear. Indeed, chemistry is obviously something that's very important in a team. It's not always just about the gun skill, it's also about how the team works, or rather, how the team members work with each other. Noe, how has your team improved since the qualifiers? Have you had time to practice and improve in maps where you maybe seem to struggle a little bit? I have Slum's hardpoint in mind against the side of EXE International, now known as Wasp. You were struggling a little bit there, started to make a comeback happen towards the end, but you came just a little too short and ended up losing that one. Have you had time to improve in these, I'd say, small mistakes that you made through the qualifiers?
Of course, like Quantic is not known for like hard points. It's not our game mode, to be honest. But beside this, we still need to improve, of course. And Exe at their times were good on slams. So, but we worked like we tried to work hard to like fix our mistakes and improve. So hopefully, like our work will be seen on the during the next phase of the competition.
I really hope to see you guys play at your very best indeed. But which map do you feel most confident on, and why is that?
I guess on hardpoint, I guess it will be Hacienda, because maybe it's the map like we play a lot during like tournaments and stuff, and maybe it's a like big map, not like Summit or Combine, for example. And I know Quantic is more like have a slow play style, so the big map let us time to think. So I guess now it's Hacienda, I would say.
All right. How about an S&D map? You said hardpoint is not really your thing as a
Yeah.
team. S&D is
Oh,
more.
okay. SNG Tunisia for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Interesting.
Tunisia,
Well,
because we had like some great performance against good teams, and we we should be fine on Tunisia.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in S&D and Tunisia, man. In your opinion, though, who is the best player in EACS?
Oh, that's a tough question because there is a lot of good players, but I don't know. I would say maybe Sao. Sao has been recently shining a lot through like during like the recent is when because he joined the Animus late recently, but he's doing great, I guess, and maybe it's the one who stand out the most for me.
All right, not bad. How about your own roster, though? I'm putting you in the spot right now, but if you had to pick one guy from your roster, who would it be? You can pick yourself
uh,
always, you know?
no, I'm not the best. And maybe right now I will say it's between Rika and Nox. Like the two are doing so great, and but maybe I will say Rika because I have like a different relationship with Rika because he's my teammate from day one. So I will say him.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on Rookie as well. That being said, though, is there any team that you would rather not play against? Is there a particular team that you're, let's say, afraid of, for the lack of a better word?
Um, I guess all the big teams like Animus and Exclusive are like very difficult, but I guess the one who is we are the most maybe afraid of are in RW, I guess, because we know that the team is like very gun skilled. So I don't know. I guess it seems to be very tough to beat them because you can't do anything like just getting outgunned and stuff. So maybe them.
Well, hopefully for you guys, you won't have to play against side of NRW, but if you do, hey, take it as a good experience and try to
Yeah,
learn from it, you
of
know?
course,
It's a
always.
it's a matter of a BS3, so nobody knows what's gonna happen in a BS3. You can always win. Well, Noe, it has been a great pleasure talking to you, and I wish you and your team best of luck in this particular event and in other events that you might be participating on. You have the chance now to say something to everyone listening and watching the stream, be they your supporters or your rivals. The stage is yours.
Okay, so firstly, thank you so much for having me, and I will say something like keep supporting Qantic, and we will prove like we belong here.
That, ladies and gents, was a Noe from Qantic. Thank you for tuning in and have fun with the upcoming action. Good evening, ladies and gents in chat. I have the pleasure to be joined by one of the players of NRW International.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to EACS 2025. It is Group B, and guess what? It's our final match in the group. And sadly enough, it is actually only one match, Avo. We're joined for the first time here together in the COD Mobile scene. I'm looking forward to this one. How about yourself? Because this one's going to be a dicey one.
Yeah, definitely. We got a battle for the qualification game. C2 versus C3 in Group B. Winner will go on to play NRW in the quarterfinals. So it's a pretty big game. On the one hand, we have Qantic, sort of a second comer. They've had a couple of good runs, but they're sort of trying to regain that form. Some slow runs, not since 2024 have they seen the quarterfinals. And then on the other hand, Sierra 7 is sort of the up-and-coming team, right? So it's the staple old, right? You've got the veterans versus the newcomers. Is it the new guys' time, or the veterans got one more run left in them? So be interesting to see how these two teams clash.
Yeah, not even that. It's EU versus Africa. I mean, it's the battle of that. So far there is 3 EU teams qualified, only 1 African side, which is Paradox. But Sierra 7 will be looking to try and do that and make the second African side through to the quarterfinals. Speaking of the two sides, let's pull up the Qantic sides and let's look at the players that will be partaking here in this 5. Aussie, Nox, Rukia, No, and Master. I actually think one of them was replaced by Turks as a substitute, from what I remember as well, from looking back at the sets there. So Master's been actually replaced back in for Turks. So there we go. So that's the roster that we've got. One of these 2 players that you needed to keep an eye out, right? Rukia, when it came to hardpoint, he is an absolute demon. Was getting so many kills, almost hitting 40 bombs every single time in the hardpoint. So yeah, one to look out for in hardpoint, even though they said in their interview that hardpoint isn't their favoured map. They don't really like that game mode in comparison. But on the other flip side, S&D, Nox is a player to look out for as well. So a very strong side of Qantic from the EU side, looking to try and dominate over onto the Sierra 7, who last time around actually had to reverse sweep. So Sierra 7, the roster will be the same as it was last time out. Ruin, Virus, Hacks, Baileys and Faddy. And I can't lie, when it goes to Avo and we're going to see Faddy in Search and Destroy with a sniper in his hand, he's 1v3 and he's 1v4 and it is ridiculous. You'll be looking forward to seeing that happen when the map does come up here for the Search and Destroy. It's something else to watch. I can't believe how fast and how quick you can use that sniper in his hands. It's unbelievable.
I mean, from my perspective, having mainly casted over sort of, the COD League, we haven't had snipers in a few years, so it'll be actually very refreshing to see sniper rifles and Search and Destroy, because they really do add an entirely new dynamic to the way the game plays, and as you said, enables for quick picks, 1v2s, 1v3s, and if you've got the skill, it's a one-shot kill weapon. So combine that with some movement, and you've got the ability to create sort of chaos in what could be a very stale Search and Destroy standoff.
Oh yeah, definitely. That being said as well, there is also the introduction of obviously of shotguns as well, another one-shot close-up quarters map. So that's going to be interesting. If somebody's just sitting around a corner waiting with that shotgun, one shot is all it needs as well. Let's go to the maps though. We'll be facing tonight. It is going to be the same as it was on what it would have been last night, but there wasn't actually a game played on the stream because we don't have the production side. But this time you'll get to see what we're up against. It's going to be Combine Hardpoint. I love that map just for that movement and when the old school movement was involved when we were wall running, but sadly that's not going to be the case here. But then we go on to Standoff, Search and Destroy. Honestly, it's the best set of maps I could ever imagine. And then you've got Control on towards Takeoff. Map choices though, Avo, they'll be reminiscent of some of these old school CODs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Combine from Black Ops 3 was actually played a little bit in the first season of Black Ops 3. I think the Invitational event they played first actually had Combine in. A very frantic map, very fast, very reminiscent to if you played like a Bockage or I'm trying to think, maybe Fortress from MW2 if you're looking for more recent titles in the franchise. But very fast, very fluid, and especially with 5v5 as well, you got an extra player. There's going to be tons of SMG power working their way through the middle of the map. And you mentioned no war runs, so that's going to essentially eliminate an entire lane. So Combine goes from like a 3-lane war run map to a 2-lane, basically smash fest in the middle of the map to sort of gain control. And moving on to Standoff, it's been a staple. We've played it several times throughout the years. Probably one of the best S&D maps Call of Duty's ever released. You've got a great balance play. You have the wide open streets towards the A-bomb, lots of range gunfights. Snipers going to be very prevalent around sort of top red, top grandmas, looking for mid-cross. And then you've got the bottom brown area where it's all close range engagements. You mentioned shotguns. They could definitely run that building if they get in there early through the sort of first hard point. And then going into Takeoff, that's not a map I've ever seen before. I know it's the remake of Stadium from Black Ops 1, but never have I seen it played competitively, and never have actually seen the map. So that's going to be on your shoulders to sort of guide me and hold my.
I would say that is the first time I'm going to have seen it as well, to be fair, because every single week they've been different setups of maps. So I mean, there's never been the same every single week as what the way it's been for COD Mobile so far. Every single one has been set for the week. So yeah, this is the first for all three of these maps this week, which for me to watch over is going to be interesting to watch them and bring back some of the old maps that we've seen in previous CODs. And I can't lie, I have never casted over them maps ever because I'm relatively new to the whole casting scene in Call of Duty, but I've played them, so I mean that's where it goes to. So let's look at these current standings as it is just now before we kick off these matches, just to see where the teams all face up against one another. You can already see a couple of teams that we have mentioned earlier that have already qualified in Group A, NRW and Paradox. Funny enough, whoever qualifies here in this game will face off against NRW International. Ace, on the other hand, is already qualified in the group, so they will be facing Paradox. No matter what the scoreline is here, it will still be Ace on top just because they have beat both Qantic and Sierra 7. So it doesn't matter about map losses, map whatever. They could have lost tonight against Eclipse if Eclipse were to turn up. But sadly, they have forfeited the map, so therefore it's an easy enough win. That's it. Another extra points going the way of Ace, so they guarantee themselves that 9 points, flawless victory run as it would stand. Just like NRW International did. And then Animus in Group C is already qualified, but Group D is going to be so interesting because there's still 3 teams in the running for this going into that final week.
Yeah, I mean, potentially Group D, you're going to see tiebreakers come into effect where you're going to have head-to-head map counts really sort of play it up. But interesting enough, Qantic mentioned in the interview that the one team they didn't want to play was NRW International. But if they win this series, which obviously they're going to want to because they want to progress to the quarterfinals, they will actually play the team that they mentioned they did not want to play. So maybe they jinxed themselves, you know. Maybe it's a bit of voodoo going on. They said they're not great at hardpoint. Maybe they'll come out and win the hardpoint, you know. And they said they don't want to play an RW. Maybe they'll come out and cause an upset. So Qantic really sort of jinxing themselves, like you say, curse of the caster almost, going into the potential bracket run.
Or maybe it was just all reverse psychology. Maybe they're actually demons in hardpoint and hoping that they could just go and dominate it. Same way going up against NRW International. Maybe it's just like put them in that little bit of overconfidence. So when they go into the game against them, then they're like, "Oh, this should be easy." They're fearing us already, and then all of a sudden, you don't know, but they still have to go in to win it. That's the question here. They're going into this game. Sierra 7 in their last match I mentioned was the first match I actually got to cast over in a game 3 where we got to see the control on COD Mobile, where they had to reverse sweep Eclipse, who they won quite convincingly in the hardpoint as well against the Sierra 7 roster. And both teams in hardpoint haven't been great to start off with. They've been 100-point club both times by Ace. I mean, Ace obviously finished top of the bracket and one of the best teams in that group size, but even then, that's very hard to come back. You've got to then try and like learn from them mistakes that you did do in the hardpoint. And even if you're saying that hardpoint is your weakest link pretty much in the map modes, you kind of have to do something here against Sierra, because if they've reverse swept already, even if you come out on victory on the hardpoint, Sierra 7's got that opportunity to still come back at you and take it to game 3 and potentially go on and be the second African side through. So, I mean, what way do you think this could potentially go? Obviously not knowing the background between the two sides and how well they've played. Obviously Sierra 7's played more maps, but in the grand scheme of things, Qantic's won both theirs. They're 2-0 or lost 2-0, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, the biggest talking point, I guess you could say, is the regions, right? So every region of Call of Duty kind of plays a little bit different. You know, America's very fast. Europe tends to be a little bit better at search and destroy, but lacks in the respawns. Then you bring Africa into the equation. Now, the last time I can recall seeing an African team play was a team called Bravado that actually played at London in Black Ops 4. And they were absolute demons when it came to the small map hardpoint, like the run and gun, high octane gameplay. That's what they love to do. When they got put on the bigger maps, got a little bit more stretched out. But one thing that is for certain is nobody knew how to play them in Search and Destroy. They were absolutely unplayable in Search and Destroy during their tournament run until they ran into sort of, you know, the massive top seeds as you get in the old open bracket format. But the issue when you play different regions is that the sort of more strategic game modes, because hardpoint is kind of run-of-the-mill. Everyone kind of tries to play the same way just because of the way the map flows. But Control and Search and Destroy, you could really have an identity of what you want to do in those modes. So you go into different regions where you might not have even played the team you're playing against, right? And they might not have played a European team before. And you get this complete clash of styles. So it really, to me, the difference is going to be is if Qantic or Sierra can really sort of force their tempo and force their gameplay onto the opposing team. Because, like I said, with not much experience, it can get very overwhelming very quickly if you really don't know what's going on, playing into a team that plays completely different to you. So if you can pressure issue and force your tempo, I feel like you're going to come out on top in this series.
Yeah. Definitely. I think I mentioned that when I was casting alongside Blood as well. The fact that it's different regions facing against each other, different play styles, definitely makes you think differently about how you take and come into that map, because you might start playing a certain play style. They've just got something completely different than what you're used to, and it just throws you off a little bit until you start getting back into the rhythm. And hence the reason some of these teams have come up with a very, very, very slow start and eventually got themselves back into it. But sometimes in a map mode like Hardpoint, you don't want to go down too much. If you're too far behind, it almost makes it impossible for that comeback. We've seen 100-point clubs being reversed almost, but they never ever get there to the distance. It's very, very hard to come back from 100 points, because you're needing pretty much perfect hills every single time. You need to make sure you're holding and getting all the breaks that you need. But it is a very difficult task to do in a small map like Combine as well. That's going to be really interesting when it comes to it, and see how close these are going to be met when it comes down to the wire. But I think in this game mode, I feel like both teams just based off of what I've seen them playing, it is going to be back and forward, back and forward. I don't see there's going to be like a big gap in the hard point. If it's going to go, it's going to go the distance. There's going to be like about a 10-point difference probably in the end on this hard point, just from what I've seen them play against both Ace and the Eclipse side. So yeah, it could be a very, very interesting one because they were pretty much neck and neck in terms of their scoreline against Eclipse where they beat them. But Eclipse obviously beat Sierra 7. So therefore you're like, oh, well, it's not bad of a gap. But yeah, it's going to be a tough ask for both sides. But I think Qantic will come out on top just from the hard point going into S&D. We'll wait and see where we go from that. But I'm just really excited to see and who's going to make it to that quarterfinal stage because that's pretty much what they're here for. Everything's on their line. That's obviously the reason why Eclipse were like, well, we've got nothing to play for now. Here we're down and out already anyway, no matter what. So they just forfeited out of it. So therefore, given Ace the guaranteed top, they were already getting top no matter what happened anyway. So there was really nothing to play for. It would have just been an entertainment match to watch just to see. Also another bit of experience for the other side of Eclipse, but obviously weren't really after that at this point in time. But that means well, you just get limited to this one really exciting series, and I'm hope for us that it does go down to the wire. It does go to that map 3, so we get to see all 3 game modes for your first cast and COD mode. So therefore you know what to expect if it does go to the control in the next ones whenever you're. Well, actually, you're not on for this week, so you might get the best of 5. You'll get a control no matter what anyway, so you'll get to at least see it before we get into the best of 5s in the quarterfinals side. That's where it's going to be really interesting because it'll be bans and picks, I'm sure, they're doing for that time. So the fact that you're stuck with maps that you're just given this week, you just kind of got to adapt, and you know probably it's coming up, so you've practiced, you've scrimmed for it potentially as well. So yeah, you've got to put everything down on it, all the heart on the line here, and just running guns blazing, hopefully that you come out on top.
I mean, absolutely. Having played in tournaments myself where it's set map sets, right? It's always an interesting thing because you're not necessarily sure if it's your best map, but at the same time, it might not be the other team's best map. So it's kind of a bit of mental warfare, really, unless you obviously have previous information on the team you're coming up against, which I can't imagine these guys do. It's very much a case of having to sort of show your hand early and sort of figure out. And in a game that comes down to the wire, as you mentioned, you see this going to a 10-point game. One layer of COD Mobile, which we haven't seen in the like 4v4 Pro COD in a while, is this game has specialists. And specialists, if you don't know at home, are basically use superpowers. You charge them up through the game. When you get enough score, you can use them. It could be the form of a weapon. You could get like the death machine, which used to be a score streak, or the war machine, which was like a big grenade launcher. And they're so strong, but so limited that they can completely swing a game. So all it takes in a map like Combine, where all of the hills are going to be very compact in buildings and rooms, one good war machine, that's a team wipe. You get on the point, that's a streak, and then all of a sudden you have a potential 2-hill chain back to back. Because if it does reflect Black Ops 3's Combine, you're going to see P3 be in the sort of lab room in the back by the rocks, and then it's going to go all the way across the map to the other side into sort of the workshop into P4, and that's back-to-back tiny, compact hills. I'm thinking in my mind, you get one set of streaks from a good specialist usage, switch to the other side, you get potentially a 2-hill chain, 2 compact hills, not very hard to hold if you've got, especially if you've got specialists or score streaks. But I'm being told we're going to a quick commercial break. There is going to be some technical difficulties on the side of the lobby. Hopefully not too long. I guess I brought them with me, right? I need to long this out as long as possible. I only get one series, so I'm here delaying everything as long as I can.
Cut them off.
Exactly. So we're going to to a quick commercial break. Hopefully not too long. We'll get straight into a great Combine map 1.
No, Sakuta, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. And you?
I'm doing perfectly fine myself. Thank you very much for asking. And it's indeed great to hear that you're doing fine as well. Sakuta, your team has a roster that should be well known to everybody who's familiar with the European competitive scene of Call of Duty Mobile. However, the team name, NRW International, doesn't necessarily ring any bells. So can you tell me a bit more about the history of this team?
Yeah, sure. The history is that we are all players from Elements, and the rest we found from the word chat, like XE, Bobo, and the rest. We just found there from, the different word chat zones.
Interesting. How
There's
long?
nothing behind it.
how long has the team been around? Like, how long have you been playing as a roster together?
I think 1 week before the tournament we made the roster.
Interesting. So a very new roster. How's the chemistry going so far?
It's perfect. We all iPad. We don't need any chemistry. We just beat everyone.
All right, I like the confidence. Well, the team might be new, but the players are very experienced, so that is a great start. I want to go back to the
Yes.
qualifiers for EACS, though. You guys had to face Animus in round number 2 of the upper bracket, and to be fair, that matchup was a very close one, even though the score says it was a 2-0. The hardpoint game was incredibly close, where Animus somehow managed to make an insane comeback happen. In S&D, you guys actually managed to win. However, you got DQ'd because of prohibited items being used. My question is, though, to make things short, do you think you can beat Animus in a rematch?
Of course we can. We only lost because we let them win on purpose, so they can have like a little taste of winning.
All right. Well, I wonder what Animus are going to be thinking after watching this interview. But even though you let them win, yeah, was there anything you got to learn from that particular matchup against Animus that might improve your chances of winning EACS?
Yeah, there's only one thing, and it's that they are very shit at gunfights, so we could easily beat them. But we didn't just go in the point, so we didn't really care about the point.
Okay, so it was all part of your plan then, right?
Yeah, to match them again in the finals.
Okay, well, we talked about Animus. They are one of the top 3 teams from EU participating in ESCS. You've already faced them. How worried are you, though, about Exclusive, who conclude the top 3 of European teams in EACS alongside your team?
It's pretty easy. Exclusive is just a more worse team than Animus, so we beat them too.
All right, I like the confidence. We'll see if you can, bring what you're saying to the playing field as well. But if you had to guess, how high are your chances, or rather, what are the odds of NRW to win EACS?
If we playing a tournament, there is no odd. We win it. There is no percent. 100% we win. We
Okay,
enter
well,
it and we take top place.
you are determined. I love to hear that, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you guys play. But what is, or rather, who is, in your opinion, one player from your team, from your roster, that we should definitely be keeping an eye on?
Of course, it's me, Sakuta, as always. They didn't let me play because I always nuke them. You can ask Narcs. I nuked their team in ranked before, their whole team, 1 week before this tournament. I nuked them.
All right, so you are the ace under the sleeve of NRW. Whenever
Yes,
things start to go down, they bring in Sakuta, and then it's all wins from there, right?
yes.
Love to hear that, man. Love to hear that. Well, now I need you to be very honest with me. Who in your team blames the lag even when they just simply cannot hit their shots?
Zuko.
All right. I don't know if Zuka is going to be happy about that one, but thank you for the input. Um, Back to a bit more serious question, though. Is there anything in your preparation that you do differently depending on the rotations and the opponents that you are facing? Like, do you prepare the same way to play against a newcomer team as you do to play against Animus, for example?
No, we don't prep at all. Like, we just play inners, have fun and ranked a little bit. We never really practice or scrimmed a lot before a tournament. We just have fun.
So you're in for the ride wherever it takes you. Just enjoy the ride as much as
Yeah.
possible, not taking things any seriously, right?
No, not serious.
Interesting approach indeed. Is there, however, a particular game mode or a particular map that you prefer to the rest? And also, is there a map where you have noticed maybe you struggle a little bit?
No, there's not a single map or mode we really struggle. We are good at every map, every mode.
So you are very confident going into this EACS. Glad to hear that. However, if the impossible were to happen and you encounter a setback, how does your team and you personally handle those setbacks?
We don't handle it all because we rarely lose. And if we lose, we don't really care.
That's one way to go about things. Well, I wish you best of luck, and hopefully you won't be encountering any setbacks in the EACS. That being said, though, before I let you go, the stage is yours, and you can say whatever you like to everybody watching right now.
Ich will nichts sagen, alles gut.
All right, that will do. That, ladies and gents, was Sakuta from NRW.
Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're back, and sadly, we're going to have to bring you some really sad news, Avo. We're not even going to get the chance to see this game either. Qantic and CR7 will be forfeited on the side of CR7. They're struggling to find the 5 men that they want to take part. They're not going to play a 4 versus 5. They think that's just already a loss anyway. So going into this, we're going to miss out on seeing some exciting COD to see who qualifies and putting it down to the wire. It's not going to go down to anything. It's going to be down to Qantic, who will go on and progress into that quarter-final. So that'll be another EU side making their way through, and they'll be facing up against NRW, funny enough, who were just speaking about how confident they are going into it in that interview. But we're going to win this. We're here in this competition. We're going to win it. Avo, anything you wish to say in your short time here on screen?
Yeah, I said I'm delaying the game. Apparently not. Apparently they decided I delayed it too long, right? But no, it's a shame. Obviously, Qantic going through. Congratulations to them. They did their job, right? They won one of their series. They did enough, and obviously I'm sure they would have wanted to play, right, just to get the sort of stamp of confidence going into the quarterfinals, knowing they're playing a team that they previously mentioned they didn't want to play. So maybe lack of momentum for them. But obviously, congratulations to them. They've been to quarterfinals before. Nothing new to them. On the side of Sierra, it is sad. Obviously, another Africa team not making it through. It would have been very nice to see more African representation for a region I know that even in console era was crying out for opportunities. It would have been very nice to see that. And obviously, we don't know the circumstances. They couldn't field a full team. Maybe it's internet, maybe it's tech issues. We don't know. All we can say is that it's a shame for anyone from Africa that's watching, for the team themselves, putting in the effort, like going out and winning a series, to now not even get the chance to play is a shame. But nothing much can be done. These things happen, unfortunately. Congratulations to Qantic. Good luck in their quarterfinal later on in the tournament, and commiserations to Sierra. Thank you very much for the game 3 thriller that I managed to catch yesterday, and good luck in whatever is next for that team and for that region. And do we have at least one African team through, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah, we've got Paradox in through so far.
Yeah,
obviously,
so the
2 more groups left.
whole of that continent is on Paradox's shoulders going forward. So no pressure.
No pressure at all. There's still a few more groups obviously to play. We'll be seeing more action on Thursday and Friday. So Group C and Group D will come back to you again soon. So I'll see you on Thursday, guys. Everybody else, I'm sorry, we apologise once again, but it is just out of our control and out of our hands, and sadly we were just going to end it there. But thank you very much for tuning in anyway. Make sure to be tuning in once again on Thursday evening, same time, same place, right here. We'll catch you then.
See you later, guys.